Hey there, it's Michael. We're at Visco. Welcome to the second and third sessions of the 3DX Max webinar. Today I'll be taking you through typical interior scene. We're talking about lighting, talking about workflow. First, let me personally apologize for we not showing up last week. We had some network issues, so we could not host the webinar. I was supposed to talk about and do some work on lighting. So we decided to merge that into today. Today we're supposed to discuss workflow. So we're going to have both of them merged into this session. We shared the post on social media, we shared the interior scene we'll be working on, the one you're looking at right now, and then we just asked the general question, what you would like to learn. The majority of people said everything, like lighting, studio composition. A number said just lighting, a number said just studio, just scene composition. Scene composition. So we're going to go through all of that today. So what we're looking at now is a simple studio lighting scene. What we're going to do is just learn the three types of lighting and just go through what they mean, how they influence each other, and it. So the three types of lighting include primary lights, secondary lights, and tertiary lights. That's what we term them here. So working with this, we're going to create them here. So most times, let me just go through a brief intro into what they all do. Most times in your scenes, especially with exterior scenes, your primary lights will be natural lighting. That's either the sun or the moon, or just environmental lights. That's in case of an overcast day where the sun is not so obvious. So in some interior scenes, it would remain the primary lights. That's when you have a major source of inlet and opening, where light is still coming, when natural lighting is still coming, be it night or daytime, or day render. Yes. So what we're hoping to achieve here today is break down each of them. Break down to work with the primary lights. The secondary lights most times are artificial lights. Tertiary lights most times find out they are ambient lights, just to give form and shadow to something in your scene or to the scene in general. So let's work with this studio setup. So now I have a very simple studio setup. You have a backdrop, I have a beautiful furniture, and then what we're just going to do is discuss the three types of lights in this scene. So first I'm going to do is setup. We have just the first step is always to have a scene composition. So that's what we're going to do here, and I'm just going to create a camera. I'm going to create a view camera and make this view my camera. And so that's what we're working with. Now I'm going to do some modifications to the camera to make sure everything is correct. So our settings, I'm just going to use typical settings. I have some typical settings I use like every time because they never change. So I get a number of people asking me what render settings do I use in my scenes, what render settings do we use in our scenes. And truth is, like I said in the last webinar, they really don't factor much in what your scene ends up as. They really don't. Your rendering settings can become the same for, like, you could never change your rendering settings for like a very long time. The really reason you might have to do so is to optimize your scene. So what I'm going to do now is go to the front view, and I'm going to create a simple plane light that's going to serve as a primary light. Note this is a studio scene, like a photographic studio scene. So most of all the lights there most times are artificial. You have bank lights. I don't know what they call them specifically. I'm not a photographer, but I know there's something about bank light here. Okay, so that's the first light. I've rotated it to face to face the focus point of our product. That's our furniture here. So it's to serve as the primary light. I'm just going to shift it back away from view of our camera. I think we might need to edit this also. Okay, I think I'll need to mention too, many times we're going to just going blind on our tutorials. Why do we do that? Because then it makes it easier to follow, makes it easier to keep you. And then I've learned one thing: it's easier to learn through mistakes, be it your mistakes or other people's mistakes. And so probably I'm going to be having areas where I'll be stuck, and then I'll have to find myself out. And then if you ever come across such an issue later, it'll be easy to get yourself out. Okay, so I'm just going to increase the shutter speed of my camera to about 50, and I'll work as that as the base shutter speed reduce. By reducing that, I've made the result brighter. So if I click render here now, I have just one light in this. All we get is this. Now, so one thing, light balance. What's light balance? Light balance is a technique visualizers employ. I've not seen many. Okay, I've seen a number of Nigerians use them over time. It's getting more and more in use here, but then out there it's widely used. It's like you can't almost create lighting without using it. So what light balance is, it's just to create like the image you're seeing in front of you. The image in front of you is the result of light balancing. This is what we're trying to achieve. Okay, now how does this help? You might, from what we've rendered here, you might see, let's open the frame buffer. You see the highlights in the metallic stands of the chair. So there's a tendency for you to get biased when you're creating your lighting. Obviously the wall is too bright or the texture is too bright, and then you're reducing your lighting, but then it's negatively impacting on something else. So what light balance does for you is it negates all of that. It gives you a blank canvas to work on, so there's no bias. Every texture is treated as one, and in the end everything just blends together. So how do we go about that? I'm sure a number of you are already know. Then just go to your render setup, go to various settings under global switches, and use an override material. Override material in the sense that you're going to override every texture in the scene. And we're going to just create a simple V-Ray material, generic V-Ray material into that slot. And that's that. That's that. So when you click render now, this is what you get. Okay, now, so this is, we're getting somewhere. Now as a primary light, this is not as bright as I would want it to be. So the aim here is to increase the brightness, give more focus on that area. So that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to go to that light, select the light, and increase the multiplier. Let's go as high as 150. I have no bars on us. Okay, and that is coming out. I should reduce the render settings. Okay, so this is our first light. I believe this works as a primary light. So what it does is that it gives shape, no, not shape actually, it gives focus to, it's a photo shoot session for like life models, human beings. It's just like it's just of picking the best face, best side of the face of the model, part you want to highlight. So that's what this does. Now the next type of light, I don't think I need to go all the way with this. Next type of light is the secondary light. So what does that do? All secondary light is, what it does is to further illuminate the scene and give more form to your product. That's in this context, it's giving more form to your product. In an interior scene, it's going to further illuminate the scene and yes, make it brighter. So most times you find your interior scenes, like in interior scene we're going to work on, it's going to be It's going to be the artificial lights, probably spotlights in the ceiling, a lamp, something to a secondary bit of lighting to give more form, to give more rush to the image you're creating. Okay, so if we look at that now it's not going to be the same settings as the primary lights, definitely. So we're going to reduce that to about 50. Now let's rename this so we don't mix them up. So this is secondary light. This is our primary light. Said I'm going to reduce the render settings so we can get optimized images ASAP. ASAP. Yes, I think that should work just fine. So if you look at that now, and one thing which to get to further understand how the light balance works, I'm going to put up the primary light so we see the full effect of our secondary light. So this is the secondary light, and you can see it's not as extreme as the primary light, not as intense as it is, but it's going to give us it's going to give the object some form, because now it's bringing light from another area, and when it complements your primary light you then see the effect that comes up entirely. Now the shadows won't be as bright as the primary light, because the primary light is going to give us most of the shadows we need in the scene, but this is just going to give us minor shadows that might not be so visible to the eyes, but then they really impact your scene on the long run. Okay, so but to bring some bit of color, I'm going to put a cool tint in the secondary light. Just have some, yeah, some flare, and I think it can't be darker than that. Can't be darker than that. I hope you're working with me. You find the work files in the link, in the YouTube link to this project. You have the start and then the finish. At the start you can just walk along with me. Yes, so that's that. Okay, so now if I bring in back the primary light, you can then see the effects we're having. Yes, the primary light is more intense. You might think it has taken off all the effects of the secondary light, but then when you look in closely, you can then see the form it gives to it. You might not notice that. Okay, let's save this too, so we can easily compare and see the effects we're getting. And I'm going to put this off and render this. On my frame buffer. Okay, so if we bring this in as this, you can then see that's the effect of the secondary light. First glance might not be so obvious, but then when you compare it to just the primary light, then you can see what effect it does. Now note, we have not brought in the real textures of the scene yet. We've not brought in the real textures of the scene, so there's no bias yet. We're treating everything as a single material until you see the once we then bring in the final texture, you then understand. Okay, what I'm doing now is, okay, let me before I draw that, a tertiary light is the final light, and what, like I said, is just to give ambience to your scene. It could be a tiny small lamp in a corner, something to give the final form, a feel, if you may. So I'm just going to create a light, and in this scene what it's just going to be is that it's going to be a light to illuminate a background. Now see the setup from here. All will be is the light illuminating the background. When you move this further, you would see that, and that's what it is supposed to be. So if I put off the earlier ones, The name is tertiary. I hope I've spelled that right. So once you click that, now that's the effect. Okay, I really do not need it to show over the product itself. So I'm going to rotate it further to focus on the background. Yeah, I think that's more like it. Okay, so that's the effect. What it does is illuminates the background. So once you then bring in all the renders, all the lights, you can then see the effect they have. Of course, I'm going to do a comparison so you see the difference between this and what it looks like without the background light. You'll see we have some splotches around. That's just because settings are quite low. Okay, now so that this is without the background light and this is with it. So we have an even stream of lighting, in the scene. So those are how you merge the two types of light. That's how. Now I need you to understand how three of them work. So when we move to the scene, an interior scene, you understand why I'm making why I've named some the primary lights, secondary lights, and tertiary lights. So what we're going to do after was not have organized our lighting is we're going to go back to global switches and put up the override material so they can be in the real textures will come out. And when you click render, and you can see it, I have a beautiful even product, a well lit product, well lit product, and that's it. Our major sense of light is coming from our primary lights. The secondary light is giving it a bit of tint, and tertiary light illuminates the background and the backdrop of our scene. And this is what we end up with. Yep, so that is it. Okay, so next we're moving to the interior scene. Just stay tuned, and that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to look at a bit of scene composition, lighting, and yeah, probably a bit of rendering settings. Hi there. Okay, so we're looking at the interior scene. That's the second scene we're going to work on. So that's what we're looking at here right now. You can see the composition, very simple. I have a sofa, I have a rug, a center table, side stool, some deco, some green, a console for a TV, some deco on that, just to bring some. Yeah, it's just basically scene population and scene composition, curtains and all of that. Now let's go deep into this. So let me work on what we have as the interior scene first. Okay, let's just break that down. Just explain what all of this does and why they are where they are and how they impact each other. Okay, so if I isolate all of this, yes, so this basically is the scene we're working with. It's quite simple, there's nothing behind it. Our focus is just the front. Okay, now so this is probably a bit of a lesson to people that are new into the visualization area, and new into this industry. Okay, so our advice never do, if you're going to have a scene, our camera view was facing, which one of them is it, this way. So you really do not need to populate all of behind you. You really do not need to populate what you do not need. That's where scene composition comes in. All I've done is, if you look at the sketches, you've seen the sketches, you can see the floor plan. You can see the floor plan. I've done rough sketches, so I knew what was going where, white was going there, what was going where, white was going there, I knew what kind of flooring I wanted. I knew the basic setup. So you can see there's nothing behind. If you also look at, there's just some other sketches. Then I had a 3D sketch, not as good as, yep. It was pretty brief because I wanted to get to max ASAP. Basic setup of what the scene looks like. Yeah, I had an idea of what the lighting would be, so I knew I was going with direct lighting, and that probably had be sun, like Jury sunlight. That was going to be my primary light. I was going to have spotlights as my artificial light. Then I was going to have an ambient light as my tertiary light. So that for scene composition. Now this is a typical, let's say this is a typical living room, I don't know, for newly wedded couple that doesn't have that much of a budget. So what do they need? A sofa, yeah, something simple. A center table, not too expensive, but stylish enough to look cool. Yeah. So scene composition, just put what is necessary. Look at the real space and just have what is necessary. Don't go overboard. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to have too much. Don't try to overpopulate the scene. The aim to create a good interior, a good scene composition is organized chaos. Organized chaos in the sense that nothing is ever perfect. Nothing is never totally right. If you walk into a street and then there are streams of palm trees along the curbs, they're never exactly the same height, the same shape, even if they might be the same tree and they were planted at the same point. So that's one factor you must notice. So what for we have a console, just simple wooden console, stylish console that I modeled. It didn't take so long to model. And then we have, of course, it's a wedded couple, a guy. I'm still a traditional kind of person, so a guy and a lady. Yeah, of course, he has his PlayStation. Okay, there are other factors. There are other there's a VCR player that I've not isolated yet. It's just you see them in the scene. Yeah, they need a big ass TV. Some books, a stool with a lamp for quick reading and stuff, and simple grain. So it's quite simple. Look at the plan view. It's quite simple. It's just like the sketch. I knew what I wanted and I went for that exact. So most times you're going to have many times you're going to have clients that not sure what they want, but once you can narrow down on everything they need, if you okay, say you're creating visuals for an interior designer or a developer, okay, then they know what they want. So you could just sketch out what you want it to look like, get some inspiration pictures, get some pictures that some things you're trying to match, some results you're trying to achieve. So it helps you narrow down on wasting time. It helps you narrow down on scene composition and reduces the amount of time wasted on setting up your scene. Yes, so that's most of it. Now let's go back to our scene. So yes, okay, we'll go further into it. So now, one other thing, like, yes, this. So if you look at the final image, you can see we have a building at the background. Just to simulate that our building is not in space, you need to consider the interior scene composition and also the exterior scene composition. You need to understand that the building is not in space. So that's what I have here. What I've done is very simple. I've just strategically positioned a building right behind the window. So if I isolate this, if I hide the window, so you can see what that is. So it gives form to the image. Look at that. It gives form, it gives a sense of place, a sense of belonging to our space. So it's not just hanging in space. And then I add the curtains in place to just mask the building enough to make it look like it's a continuous loop. Like you have like rows of buildings right behind it. It's just like I said, it's scene composition, understanding how it works, understanding what works. So if I unhide all, now that's for that. So if we look at the ceiling, okay, ceiling is very simple. We have just simple ceiling. We have a dark strip, just a dark inset strip, no light in it, and then you have 6 spotlights. Now these serve as the secondary lights in our scene. Serve as secondary lights in our scene. They basically illuminate the scene. Our primary light is natural light. That's light coming in from the window. That's our primary light. Then the secondary lights, they illuminate. Like if you look at this, they all have their shadows beneath them. Our furniture and all that. That's from the secondary light. And the third light is the tertiary light. That's what we have there. So basically it's just illuminating the cove. It's like cove lights illuminating that subset we have there, just to give a bit of, just to give ambience to the feature wall. That's exactly what we have there. So I'm just going to run through how these lights impact each other. We're going to create them one by one from scratch. So what am I going to do? I'm going to delete the existing lights. That's the point lights. I'm just going to put them off and then delete a sun also. So now we have the scene. The first step is always your scene composition, having everything in place. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be most of what you need, because then the lighting has to impact this. And like I said, we're creating lighting. The first thing, the best way to go around it is to work with light balancing. We already have a material here, so what we're going to exclude now, when I say exclude, exclude means to exclude, like just to exclude some textures. You want some objects to retain their textures. Now the only objects we plan to retain that might want to retain their textures here are our glass and our curtains, because if you look at this image well, we need light to come in. Without that, we can't complete our light balance. We need light to come in from that angle. We need the sunlight to come in, so we need them to retain their textures, else they will just be gray. So those are what have been excluded: the curtains and then the glass panels, the glazed panels. So if I go here right now, I have to make sure this goes down really low, because it's a much bigger scene and we do not want to waste time and render time. Okay, so very low, quick stuff. Yes, and yep, this works. Simple. So if I click render now, what am I going to have? Okay, that's heavier than I thought. Okay, so it's going to come up soon. It's because of the first render in the scene. Okay, so what we have right now is just environment lights. That's from the V-Ray sky. So no, let's take that out. Clear. So now this is the original state of our design. No lights, nothing. No lights, nothing. So what we have is just black. Good. So that's a good place to start from. So the first thing to do, first type of lighting to create is your primary light. One sec. Yes, it's your primary light. And that's, yeah, in this case, I'm working with sunlight. So I'm just going to create V-Ray sun a distance away from a building. Oh, one sec. Let me go through that again. Okay, so V-Ray sun. And when he asks me to add the V-Ray sky environment map, I would say yes, because without that, all you have is just a direct spotlight. But the sky map is like the environment light, is what you see apart from the intense sun itself. Okay, so I'm just going to take that up at an angle that works. Now, if you look at the sketch, look at the sketches, one thing I've taught people is organized chaos. organized chaos in terms of your lighting, in terms of your scene composition, in terms of your texturing. It's many times lights just come in. A lot of people just bring in lights direct. Now there's no harm in doing that. I'm going to hide this also. There's no harm in having direct lights like we have here right now. Just coming straight ahead and that. There's no harm in having something like this. They're cool, definitely. But you don't get. Yes, okay. Let's finish there and run you through. Most times when you do that, your shadows are not so, in quotes, exciting. Okay, this look exciting. This just rebuffs what I've just said. That's because we have the curtains. But most times when you just have your light direct, you don't have something exciting. It doesn't look as awesome because it's just straight lights. This looks good because we have lights and the curtains and all of that. But like a popular quote, probably just paraphrasing, correct me if I'm wrong. The sun knew it was beautiful when it's shown on walls. Something like that. If something like that, like shadows bring out the beauty in light. So that's what I'm going to try to optimize here. So I'm going to drag a light a bit to an angle and adjust the light target also. So what am I trying to achieve? I'm trying to achieve a I don't want to use the word chaotic, but a different sense of lighting, a different angle, something to give chaos to our organized scene, something that will complement. Yes, exactly. So this is what I'm trying to achieve. It's not exactly the same as the reference image, but you get an angle, you get the angle what I'm trying to do. So now it brings in, you can see the shadow play on the sofa, on the table, or what's going to be the rug. It's much more exciting than just having it straight ahead. That's just a lesson that you could learn on how to undo lighting. Never try to do, not okay. I won't, never is a strong word, but try to spice up stuff. Make your lighting different. Make your lighting just do something. Make it crazy, because that's when you give pop to your scene, and it just doesn't look boring. Now, for some scenes you might not be able to go all this way. For this scene, it was actually just a sunlight that I took further a bit. But for many scenes, you'll be able to go all the way to create something crazy because probably it's a client request or you're just trying to show something simple. But when you can, try to go a bit crazy with your lighting because, like I said, it's the most important aspect of setting up, of having a wonderful render. So that's our first light. Now our second lights are secondary lights. Now we already have them here. They are IS lights. We created a ceiling and we have our lights there. There's spotlights, IS lights just in the ceiling. We created holes in the ceiling. Okay, this doesn't look so good. But we created holes in the ceiling where this can just fit in. And then it's not just put it down. So all we end up having is, I'm not sure it shows in the render. Okay, then actually never do. They actually never do. So all we end up having is just this, our lights flushing in with our lights flushing in with the ceiling. So IS lights, give a open this, like it's an artificial, it's a type of light, just point light, and then you bring in an IES spotlights. Instead of just using spotlights, these are more realistic because most times your lights are shaped to be something like this. Those are typical IS lights are. And then they have the values. You import any one you want. It could be like street lights, ambient lights for the office. There are different ways their effects come out, and they can all be beautiful when used properly. When used properly, they can be really awesome. Okay, so I'm sorry I might not go in depth on that because I'm trying to merge everything into one. So we have our IS lights. I'm just going to activate them. We have 6 of them. I'm just going to activate them and put off our V-Ray sun. When you click render, these are our IS lights. So if there was no sun, all we have are just this illuminating the scene. You need to consider that your lights should, if you're not going to use artificial lights, then do not use them at all. But if you're going to use them, make sure they are call them the right quantity. Like imagine it was an evening scene. They have to be the right quantity. So that's this. These are IS lights. This is how they illuminate the scene. Like we did in the studio setup, the secondary lights. So what they do is they give form to our shapes. Like if you look at this, it gives form to the sofa just right beneath the what do you call them? The seams. Form to the center table. Form to like everything around. It complements the sunlight. And that's what the IS light does. Now what we have outside is just the view environment light without the direct sunlight. Because if we don't have that, what we just end up having is just black space, and then the sun in the sky is just going to. Now the sun creates the environment light. Note, in reality the sun does that. But in Max V-Ray you need to create something similar to that. The aim is to create something similar that matches the effect that gives. Like I always tell people, the aim is to achieve realism. My aim is to achieve realism. Now there are different types of visualization different artists that have their different styles, and they are wonderful styles. But my aim is to achieve realism, and I'm going to. So that connotes I'm working on my lighting, working on my texturing. Some people are more artistic in their approach. But what I'm teaching here is how to achieve realism. So now this is our second item, just spotlights. You could have sphere lights to create them, to create the effect. So I'm going to put on the various one alongside it. What we're going to have is the effect now. Yes, so that's what we have. A primary light, which is the sun, a secondary light, which are the spotlights, the IS lights that illuminate the interior much better than the sun. You can see the shadows of that on this, on that, and everywhere. And that's what we have. I don't think we need to go in depth into texturing. I might be wrong. I might be wrong. Okay, but let's do a bit of that. Okay, now if you look at the image, you can see the wall, like typical test coat finish, test coat paint, like the roughness, and then given that, like giving form to your textures, like I taught in the first webinar, detailing your textures. When you when you treat your textures well, they give you an amazing result. As what's when they treat your textures well, they treat you well. Yeah, they give you an amazing result. And when your textures are well done, it complements your lighting, as you can see around the edges. Really well done. So it complements the lighting all around. And if I go to this other view, texture for a feature wall. What I've used there is a floor generator. It's a plugin that creates sec. Yes, if you look at it here, it's a plugin that creates different boards. It's also what was used for the floor. So it creates different boards and then you can have different textures, and then you assign those different textures to them. Now that's just about where most people stop, just assign textures and stop. But now if I open a material editor, open my material editor and try to pick this, so you can see what I've done here. Modeling texture, I was trying to create some sort of marble feel, so there's no bump along the lines on the wall. So just going to have a wet, what I call a wet dry reflection type. It's not so reflective. A part of some areas of it will be more blurred than they should be. I'm not going to go in depth on texturing in this video, but you can see the effect it's creating here. Why is that way? You can see the effect. It's really nice. It works with the ambient light, works with natural light, works with the artificial light also. It's really cool. You get really good results. That's if you can work with them well. Okay, so moving on. Now we have our two types of lights. The next light we need to have is the cove light. That's our ambient light. I already have an inset in our ceiling. You could also have one along the curtains. What I wanted to have was one along here. So what I've done is I create, like, you know, the way the lights are, there are strips of lights. There are strips of light that you know, like, it's like a cable of light that is placed along the wall. Now you don't see that detail, so what I'm going to aim to do is to create something that resonates like that. So what we'll do is create a plain light and draw it along there. One sec. If we isolate this, we isolate the ceiling, just move the camera so you can see the insets there. You can see the insets there. So I'm going to create the plain light. It's just going to hang over here. So our plain light is just going to hang over, and this is where the inset is just going to hang just right before it. Look at it here, just right before it. Just that's it. So so okay, so that's our plain light. We're going to give it a warm color. Now it could be anything, it could be cool, it could be, but many times the warm color works, like it's kickers. So just going to give it a warm color. I'll reduce the multiplier because it's quite big. You're also going to have like a really bright scene. Let me show you why we have to reduce it. So I'm going to end it and bring everything back. And like we've done the light balancing, I'm going to put off all the other lights and I'll render just that. And now you see the ambient light. Like I said, I think it's a bit much. Okay, so we don't need to render the entirety of everything. So just going to have that. So what I'm doing is I'm just rendering that region. Yes, actually this works. So that's the cove light. Maybe it's a tad bit bright, so just reduce that a bit. So let's say 10, 1/3 of its size. So when you do that, this is what you end up having, and I believe this works for what we're trying to achieve. So then if it, like you see, let's show you the effect in the entire scene. So I put this off. So this is what it looks like. Ignore the splotches, that's because our rendering settings are quite low, so it's very can't quite calculate what is happening everywhere. So I will bring out all the lights all together. What we then have is this. As that renders, let me just I've provided the files. You look at the YouTube links, you can see the files to Google Drive. So you can visit them, download those files, and walk around them, and then see the features I've added, what I've used, what I've tried to, like everything I've done basically. You can see them in those files, so you understand how it works. You send some questions. You can actually, I would love if you can modify those scenes, create something really nice from it. Same thing, but just modify, create something nice, and send the images to us. Our social media and are also directly below, and then we'll talk about them. If you have questions on how to achieve some things, please feel free to post your questions, send us your questions, send us your requests, and all of that. So these are our lights. A primary light, which is the sun and environment lights, a secondary light, which are the spotlights, and a tertiary light, which is the ambient light. And you can see the effect it's having. Okay, we do not need to go all this way. So right now we understand we have a light balance, like it works already. So I've said it before. If you get your lighting right, I'm sure a number of people have heard me say this. If you get your lighting right, you have to be pretty badass to end up with the person. Yeah, like you have to like really try to end up with the person, get a lighter and get your texture right. Thankfully, we have both of them. Well, not perfect. We have them well done here. So I'm going to put up the override material. So all our textures could have, all our objects can have the original textures. When we click render, you can see the final effect we're going to achieve. As that's rendering, just note I've hidden the V-Ray rug, our rug. That's the 4 itself. So it might take longer to render because of that. Well, actually, maybe I should leave it on. I can always pause. Complete. Yes. Okay, so the scene is rendering with all our lights, and then we can. So that is, or rather, this is the final render. It's a video test render, like really low resolution, but I hope you've gotten an angle of how this works. So I hope this was useful. Thank you for your comments and requests on our social media pages, as that gave us the drive to create this video, and it creates VSchool in general. Actually, I hope it inspires you to start creating amazing interior scenes. And this lesson is just the tip of the iceberg. We still have so much to share. We have so much to give. We'll be sharing much more tips, tutorials, shortcuts, and other aspects of visualization. And thank you, or rather, before then, to keep a hand of this, just subscribe to this channel to make sure you get a notification when due. You'll probably be, we're going to have a live session as regards the comments we get on this, and then you can send your requests on what you need to learn, and we just create short tutorials on that. Much more is coming on this platform. We're still going to tell you our mission behind this, the goal behind VSchool, and what we try to achieve, what we're aiming to achieve via this platform. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.